This is an ordinary episode of Triple Click. Nothing like that lost, deleted episode that I left on a cassette tape at a garage sale. Welcome to Triple Click, where we bring the games to you. This week, we celebrate Halloween with Polygon senior editor Patricia Hernandez, who tells us about some video game ghost stories and urban legends known as creepypasta. I'm Maddy Myers.
I'm Jason Schreier.
And I'm Kirk Hamilton. And hello.
Hello.
We're back again.
What a lovely,
hello to both of
lovely time to see your faces.
On our video game podcast, which is called Triple Click.
It sure is.
Let's say, hypothetically, that somebody liked this show so much that they wanted to give us a little tip. A little money.
This is a wild hypothetical.
Yeah,
wild
really
thought
weird.
Experiment here. That we're
But like,
doing.
what if somebody wanted to tip their podcasters? Where would they go? How would they do such a thing?
That's a good question, Maddy.
I have a suggestion for this person.
Okay.
They could go to MaximumFun.org/join and they could give us a little tip by becoming a Max Fun member.
Act now and we'll throw in a set of steak knives.
We'll throw in a Horizon Zero Dawn
Right.
spoiler-filled beancast.
Oh.
Just for you.
A bunch of bonus episodes that you can listen to.
Just a bunch of bonus apps.
Bonus eps every month.
I think people should do that.
I think they should too.
I think so too. Hey, so before we start, I have some exciting news, guys.
Oh, wow.
Please.
Some very exciting news. So about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, I published a book called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. And it did pretty well, so I decided to write another book. And that new
Cool.
book is now officially announced. I announced this week that my new book is called Press Reset: Ruin and Recovery in the Video Game Industry. It is coming out in May, on May 11th. It is a book about what happens to people when game studios shut down, and it is about the volatility in the video game industry. It's full of a bunch of stories, just like Blood, Sweat, and Pixels was, all based on firsthand interviews. I went out, spoke to a bunch of people, asked them. I love just asking smart people like questions about things I don't understand or don't know, and just that's the best part of this job, is getting to ask people who know more than you questions. But anyway, so that's what I did for this. The book has a bunch of cool, wild, crazy, depressing, heartbreaking stories in there. There's some stories about Warren Spector and Junction Point. There's stories about BioShock and Irrational and 2K Marin. Stories about Kurt Schilling and 38 Studios and Big Huge Games.
Oh boy.
And man, there's all sorts of stuff in here. I think it's really good. I think people will enjoy it. So it's a book. It's called Ruin and Recovery because it's a book about like the devastation that happens when a studio shuts down and like that feeling of losing your job and having to pick up and start again. But it's also about what happens afterwards and like how some people can like use that as a way to follow their dreams. And also it's about like how the video game industry can kind of recover, because towards the end of the book I propose a bunch of solutions for this volatility problem and some explore like some theories that people are already exploring. And anyway, I think it's pretty cool. If you like the first book, if you want this one, if you think you'll buy it, if you think you want to read it, do me a favor and go and pre-order it, because pre-ordering really, really helps authors. It helps.
You want it to go gold.
Yeah,
obviously.
I want it to go gold. No, it helps. It helps us get like placement in Barnes and Noble, and like, well, when people can go to Barnes and Nobles again. But it helps us get like algorithms.
But imagine it being placed there in a physical store.
Where people went to things.
And it helps us get on lists and all sorts of cool stuff. So if you think you're going to buy it anyway, do me a favor, pre-order it. If you don't think you're going to buy it, fine, no problem.
And you totally should, because it's good. Am I embargoed, Jason? Can I say that I've read it and that it's a great book?
Oh, that's very nice.
It's great. People should totally read it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is very nice of you to say. Cool. Well, I'll talk more about the book like way later when it's closer
Maybe
to
when
coming
it's out
in May.
Yeah.
I'll get a little more in depth on it. But for now, it is Halloween, so it is time for a very special segment.
And this week we actually have a special guest who is my colleague at Polygon, senior editor Patricia Hernandez, who used to be the colleague of you two long ago at Kotaku.
Hello, Patricia. So good to have
Hello,
you here.
Patricia.
Hey guys.
Welcome to the show.
It's nice to see you.
Long time since we've all been in the same room.
I know.
In the same Zoom call.
We're in the same virtual room. So Patricia, we wanted to bring you in because you have written a lot of articles over the years about horror games and spooky games, and especially one recently about a game that I would not consider to be a horror game, which is Super Mario 64. So you wrote this story for Polygon about how a lot of fans are repurposing Super Mario 64 to make it seem like a horror game. Do you want to just describe the ways in which people have been doing that?
Yeah, so there's like this whole resurgence of like the Mario iceberg, which is this very deep fried image that's just like compiling all the different myths, I guess, that people have of this. And then now, because tools have gotten so advanced, like people can just mod these ideas to bring them to life. Like it's very similar to, what is it that people use for Team Fortress? Gary's mod or
Yeah.
whatever.
Gary's mod.
So they're just some of them honestly kind of sound like shit posts. Like there's one that's where Wario like follows you around, but is Wario really inherently scary? I don't really know.
I would say,
but
Debatable.
but I think that's kind of part of the fun, right? Like, will anyone really get like a nightmare from playing Super Mario 64? I'm not really sure, but it makes for really evocative imagery. Like it's interesting to watch.
I like how it's, I like the term iceberg, how that's used to describe this, which I had never heard of before I read your article, though I'm sure some of our listeners are familiar with it. The idea that basically you start with theories that are sort of well known, and then you go under the water and then you get into these really deep, weird theories about what's really going on in Mario 64.
And it's huge, and there's something lurking beneath the water that's beyond your comprehension.
Yes, that's the part of it.
Yeah, did you see there was like this viral image that was like rating the degrees of conspiracy theories in real life and how harmful they are? Like it's, I don't know, people can talk about whether Britney Spears is what's happening with Britney Spears, and that's like a very
right, the conservatorship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And but then at the deep end there's like the more harmful ones, which is
Right, sure.
very different from what's happening in video games. But I think this iceberg kind of thing kind of exists outside of video games also.
It does, but you're right to compare it to conspiracy theories, because that seems to be the way that a lot of these fandoms operate, as you're delineating it in this story, where people kind of pretend that there's a conspiracy theory that Mario is a lot spookier than it really is, and that's part of the bit, where people will be posting something really scary in the game and being like, is this really a part of the game or not? And am I finding something that was always there, or am I just creating something on my own that was never really a part of the game and making it seem like it was always there?
Yeah, it's like shared fiction. And I guess the central conceit, a lot of them are based on the whole idea that every copy is personalized or whatever. And I'm not entirely sure where that came from. But then if everyone jumps off that same idea, then any story that they could tell could potentially be plausible if they all agree on that one fact.
There's so much in video games. There's so much about replication, where someone will say, even outside of, creepypasta, my game is haunted stuff, just like, I was able to get this, unbelievably unfair kill because of this broken weapon in a game. And then people will immediately be like, yeah, but I can't replicate that in my game, so I don't believe you. So if you take this concept that every copy of Mario 64 is unique, it like nicely sidesteps.
Then you can get away with anything. It's
that
like
problem, right? And you can be like, well, maybe Wario is in my game, and that's it. Like, it's just only in my game.
It's like saying, oh, Trump didn't mean it literally. He just meant it metaphorically. And then he can say absolutely anything. It's just this warping of reality.
We could go down the QAnon thing forever, but listening to that recent Reply All episode about QAnon, Patricia, something you just said makes me think of that, about how when it was kind of starting out, at least according to some of the people who were there was this sense that everyone was kind of just playing around, and some people were playing along with it, and then it gradually became more real. Obviously, that's not happening with Mario 64, but you can see how that kind of mentality goes.
It's not, but I do think there is an insidiousness to the way that people create these conspiracy theories about video games, which, Patricia, you've covered this a lot in the past, about the ways that games can become almost urban legend-like. Like, people will talk about PT in a certain way, and you covered this game called Sad Satan for Kotaku a while back, and like Ben Drowned is another example of like games that kind of have urban legends created about them as being like these haunted artifacts. But then I feel like humans have this ability to create and find patterns in anything, and that can also create stuff that's harmful. But that's also what's so cool about these games and spooky about them at the same time, because it's like,
Right.
because you have the ability to find these patterns, you end up blowing that up in your own mind and being like, oh, like anything is possible within this game world, but like it's also kind of maybe bad for you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Something interesting that I'll note is that, like, I feel like the places in which any of this even works is like all older games where like your imagination was kind of involved anyway. Like now I feel like it's very hard to make up a conspiracy theory about like Destiny 2 or something. Like there will be YouTubers who have like tested out every possible thing and they know the exact numbers, and they're data miners who can like look at every single thing. Although it can still happen, like it really depends on the level of complexity.
It did actually happen with Destiny 1, but that's a whole nother story. There was this whole idea that there was a hidden chest in the Vault of Glass that people searched for years and years. We did a whole split screen episode about the secret hunters of Destiny.
Yeah. I mean, it can definitely still happen. Like like a week ago or something, data miners found these files that were just like this huge roar that nobody can find a parallel to inside of Red Dead Online. So now they're all trying to find, where does this roar happen? So it can still definitely happen. I just think it's a little harder to the same degree as like, I don't know, Lavender Town or anything like that, right?
Right. I totally want to talk about Lavender Town too, and that's another older game. There's a difference between, it's just like when the people who made the game are still around and still making the game, it kind of dispels some of the magic, right? And that's, I think, like Red Dead Redemption, the original game, is a pretty haunted game. There's a lot of, I think you actually wrote about this. I remember writing about some of this stuff too for Kotaku, about like, there's just weird stuff in that game. And some of it was put there by the developers. I'll never forget, I was just riding around in that game and I came upon a guy who was just sitting at a campsite and he said something that I couldn't quite make out and then just shot himself. And it was so weird. And it was like the third, I was playing the game, just randomly replaying it, like way after I'd played it. I'd never seen that before. And I bet not many people see it. And it was just this weirdly cursed thing that happened in the game. And then there were all these rumors about ghosts and whatever. But when the people who made the game are right there still making it, it dispels some of that. Where with something like Lavender Town, that it just feels like this weird old artifact, that, it's like The Ring, this weird VHS tape that I dug up somewhere and it's just haunted and it has a mysteriousness to it. I think Lavender Town is fascinating. Patricia, could you maybe, I don't want to paraphrase it because you can paraphrase it better. So could you tell people about Lavender Town?
Yeah. So there's this whole like, I don't know, fascination with this town in the first Pokemon game. And it's also called Lavender Town. And there's like this tower that you can ascend, and they reveal that Pokemon can die. And so I think that just sparked a lot of imaginations, or shocked a lot of kids, I feel like, because I don't even know if any other game acknowledges that possibility. Like the closest they come is like Pokemon being fossilized, I guess, but then there's that whole idea that they can come back, right? They're not really dead. But yeah, the whole thing with Lavender Town, and then you've got the fact that like the original games were, I don't know, is that 8-bit? Whatever, like the low degree of quality of graphics.
The sprites, yeah.
And then there were all these like spooky stories about like people finding like versions of the game that where their Pokemon died, or it's like it really depends on what version of the story you're reading, but people just basically took that as, I guess, a story prompt for scary stories within Pokemon.
One thing that I really liked about Lavender Town is the music aspect of it, just because the Lavender Town theme music is terrifying on its own. I'm going to play it right now as I talk about it, and listeners will be hearing it. And it's really weird. I listened to it again when I was rereading your Kotaku article about it from back in the day, and it's very dissonant music. Like it's got all this weird half-step shit going on. Like just as a composition, it's odd, and it's detuned. It's like got weird like microtonal stuff going on. So it sounds uncomfortable, and you hear it. And you wrote about this in your article, that there were all these rumors that the music would trigger people having suicidal thoughts or other sort of negative reactions. Like the music was affecting you. And because when you listen to it, it is so discordant and weird, it does kind of have that effect on you, just because that kind of sound is like an uncomfortable sound. So it gives it that air of plausibility. You're like, well, I kind of believe that there could be some subliminal thing hidden in this.
Yeah.
And it makes the whole thing feel more real and more scary.
Yeah. Something that strikes me about a lot of these creepypastas is that they always often take a Nintendo game or something else that seems cutesy and contrast it with the horror. Like it's always a horror story inside this game that is otherwise adorable. And that tonal contrast even works in real games. Like it works so well in Undertale, and Undertale has its own fan fiction slash creepypasta community surrounding it. But it always reminds me of my favorite creepypasta is the story of Dead Bart. Have you guys heard this one? This is my favorite.
No.
Oh my god,
It's
so good.
Gonna tell us this
boy.
great story.
Oh god, it's so creepy. So you have to look this up, and we'll put it in the show notes. Dead Bart. So on the internet, it's just some post. All it is a message board post. As many of these are, they're just written in text, and they're just great stories. And this one is it's this guy who tells a story about a hidden episode of The Simpsons that was so fucked up that it was removed from the air, and he tracked down Matt Groening and got a copy of it. Matt Groening sent him to this website, and he went to this website, and it put a virus on his computer, and his computer wiped, but suddenly the episode is there, and he watched
It's always
it.
so involved, isn't it? It's always so involved.
And he says in this episode, The Simpsons, they're all they're proceeding as normal. They're going on a trip, but everything seems a little bit off. Homer is a little angrier, Lisa's a little sadder, etc., etc. They get on a plane, and then at some point, Bart is goofing around, and he gets sucked through the plane window. He cracks open a plane window and gets sucked through, and he dies. And you see his body in real life form, and it's really just grisly. And then the entire second act of the episode is the entire Simpsons family crying at their table, and it's just them crying. And it ends
10 minutes.
Wow.
and then it ends, and then the third act, it ends with a graveyard, and you see all the celebrities who have been at The Simpsons, and then the days that they would actually die, and then there's a whole bunch more graves, and they're all on the same date of death. It's a great story.
So I'm curious about this creepypasta because I want to understand, I guess, the full cinematic universe of creepypastas, because that sounds to me like a sort of myth of a hidden episode. But for me, at least, a creepypasta generally has to, in some way, go out into the real world. There would have to be a rumor that 5 members of the animation team died while they were working on this episode, or something like that. And then people start throwing around, there's a mystery or some hidden thing that connects everything.
Yeah,
although
I think just the idea of a missing episode being the core rumor still works, as simplistic as it is. And I think a lot of games and any technology-based horror capitalizes on that same sensation of something being wrong. And also the idea of the virus in your computer. A lot of the games that you've written about, Patricia, have this same theme of by playing this game, you're also possibly damaging your computer and your own mind at the same time. And it's infecting you and the object that you own in some inextricable way. That's very Undertale.
There's nothing
as
scarier
well.
than breaking your computer.
It kind of, yeah.
No, really.
It is a horrifying thing. And so the fact that, in reading about that game, Sad Satan, that you wrote about, the idea that the game could be doing something to your computer, but nobody knew exactly what it was, is actually scarier than anything that happens in that game, which is mostly just you walking through a hallway. But it's the idea that something bad is happening and you are just imagining it is part of what makes a lot of these things work so well, at least for me. And it's very Ring video, like you said, Kirk.
That story was I think I didn't realize this until after the fact. It's so hard to verify for that reason. Am I gonna go on the dark web to go download this thing that some people say has porn in it or something? I don't.
Can you tell people what Sad Satan is? Just give us sort of a breakdown, since I've read your article, but I had never actually heard of it before that.
So the idea is that someone made this fucked up game that they uploaded to the dark web, and it supposedly has to do something with this whole elaborate real world murders and stuff, and so but it became complicated because I think the game stopped being up, like the original poster kind of like disappeared and unuploaded the game, but then it became complicated after I posted it, because then other people like remade the game, and then there was the question of like, well, which one is the actual thing? And then some people were kind of messing with other people and like putting extra things into the game that weren't originally there. And so if you go to the subreddit now, there are still people who pop in every so often because YouTubers have covered this game and those videos have gone viral or whatever, and they're like trying to figure out like, can I download this? Which one is the actual thing? And there are people like telling them, like, no, don't download this random thing that you think is the game. Like, you don't know what could be in it. Which
dangerous, right?
Yeah.
And it's not them trying to like pull their leg. It's like genuinely like you don't know what you're downloading.
I feel like that's part of what makes the game work so well, though, is because it has been elevated to mythological status, where it's like, okay, you can never truly download this game anymore. It may not even exist anymore, but that means that any file associated with it is inherently scary. And also a thing you probably shouldn't download, and you maybe don't even have to download it at all in order to have that horror thrill experience about it, because you're like, well, even the file is haunted.
This reminds me of the Polybius thing with that game. There was like the urban legend about Polybius. That's this game that is going to affect your brain.
I don't know what
and
that
is used by the
What
government.
are you talking
well,
about?
so this, I think I told you both about this. I listened to this podcast about it that I thought was real, and then the whole thing was totally fiction.
Yeah, I remember
And so
that.
then the podcast was itself kind of a creepypasta.
Oh, okay.
It kind of was very frustrating.
Kirk was very
because
disappointed. Yeah, I remember.
it was presented to me as at least
very lonely girl 15. I see. Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of presented. They didn't say at the beginning, hey, this is a work of fiction. It was more just like, here's this story.
Yeah.
And I'm actually not even sure if there may have been some rumors forever ago about some video game in the arcade that if you played it, you'd enter a trance state because it was designed to like recruit kids for the military or whatever.
Sure. These are classic ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
It all relates to. I've been listening to a lot of You're Wrong About that podcast. They talk a lot about moral panics and various things like this, that where there's always like some kernel of truth to it, and it's always tied in with like, what is happening to the children? You know, what is this thing doing to the children? And in this case, there's always been this fear about what video games are doing to children, especially back in the kind of eras of these earlier games that we're talking about. It strikes me that that is an essential element of a lot of these scary stories, is like, okay, maybe it's not possessing your body with the devil or whatever, but we don't know what video games are doing, and they're having some kind of an effect. So let's start there and then kind of build something fictional on top of it.
Yeah. So I have a theory here, and that is, so back in the day, I don't know if you guys remember, I don't know if you guys were early internet, like AOL, GameFAQs users, and if you like posted a lot on game message boards or read a lot of like gaming stuff online.
No.
But if you were like back in the 90s and you read about console games online and such, you probably saw somewhere or another, like some guide for getting a character in a game that turned out to be totally fake, totally bunk. Like, I remember there were big ones on Final Fantasy. Obviously, the most obvious one was Final Fantasy VII, How to Revive Eris. That was like all over the place. There were all sorts of guides for
that's
that.
a good one. Yeah.
Sure.
These days, it's impossible to have that. There's no more mystery when it comes to games because A, like you said, Kirk, like the developers can just shoot things down, but B, like there's so much information about everything online that it's impossible to actually have mysteries like that and falsehoods like that, false rumors like that floating around involving the contents of the games. So instead, I think this kind of subculture has built around these creepypastas where there could be a kernel of truth to them, and it's just like there's just enough ambiguity there that it can't be like outwardly debunked. And I think that is kind of like the fundamental truth, or the fundamental, like the most important tenet behind these things is that like there has to be like just the tiniest kernel of possibility there. Like it can't be completely debunked in any way. Like it could be that maybe some people's copies of Mario 64 like have this personalized thing.
Right.
It could be
people want to believe, right?
Yeah,
it could be that this
it's
game
fun.
will break your brain. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to buy into this. I mean, that's why people buy into QAnon. It's fun to be part
I'm
of
really
something.
curious about the Aerith thing, because isn't the whole, I haven't finished the remake of Final Fantasy VII, but isn't the whole thing that
Oh
they're
no, we were supposed to not spoil
boy.
that shit.
like that?
We can't tell you anything about it. The end of that game is redacted, and you're just going to have to read a creepypasta about what happens. And I can't tell you. But before you go, Patricia, I did want to have you talk a little bit about one of the stories that you're working on now about just new trends in horror and how people are making these mixtapes. Do you want to talk about horror game compilations of the modern era?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a whole bunch of different things going on there, right? Like, for one thing, it's much easier for game developers to make a shorter game. So there have been these, like, it almost feels like an offshoot of game jams where you're working with these very specific constraints, and according to some developers, it just kind of helps them hone in on whatever idea it is they want to explore. Like, some of these things can't be more than 30 minutes. Like, it wouldn't lend itself to a full game, but it ends up making for a more interesting game because I don't know. I feel like I play a lot of games where it's very obvious that the developers felt that they had to make it like X amount of hours, and then the thing becomes less interesting. And like, so these horror games don't have that problem. It's like they're only there to do the exact specific thing. And a lot of them have been influenced by PT. And in fact, I think the Dread collection, it's on Steam. It's a collection of like 15 mini games or something like that. And that's literally in the description. They're like, we told developers to like make their version of PT, and this is what they came up with.
Could you explain PT to people who might not know what it is? Like, what is PT?
Oh yeah, it's like this viral teaser that you can no longer download. That was meant to
for the PS4.
Yes, for the PS4. That Hideo Kojima was behind, and the whole thing was that you didn't know that it was for Silent Hill, and you played through this entire thing, and there was like this community of trying to figure out how to like unlock the real ending. And when they did, that was the big reveal. But it was so interesting because he did so much with just being in a hallway that you walked through multiple times.
Right.
So I feel like it completely, like, it created its own genre of horror game. I almost feel like there are so many games that you can play now that look exactly like PT in some way.
So PT, you can't download it anymore because the game was canceled, and so Konami removed the teaser and won't let people download it or re-download
Which
it.
I think central to the appeal into that genre you're talking about, Patricia.
Oh,
is that
absolutely.
Well, so I was gonna say, so it's interesting. So right now, like PS4s with PT on them are like a rare thing.
I have two of those.
I think
Great.
in like 20 years, I think there'll be a whole creepypasta surrounding
Yes.
PS4s with copies of, like, it'll be like PT took over your PS4, and like there'll be some story that'll be just amazing.
Yeah. Our coworker Chelsea Stark, who's our boss, intentionally deleted PT from her PS4 because she believed that it was haunting her console, and she
There you
did
go.
not want it to be on there
it's
anymore.
it's already starting. Patricia, were you going to ask something? I didn't want to like leave this hanging. Were you going to ask something about Final Fantasy VII before, about Aris?
Oh yeah.
That's how we should close it out, you know? Just talk about Ares, like what's gonna happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was my question. Like, do you think they're going to do something? Like, I can just totally see that sparking like a whole new era of, I don't know, conspiracy theories about Aerith if they change it somehow.
Well, so what I want them to do for the remake is, like, in subsequent chapters of the remake, make it so you can revive Aerith, but you have to follow the directions of a walkthrough from 1994 or 1997,
Yes.
where they're telling you, and then so the crazy thing about those guides and those rumors is that they always made you do these tedious things. So they were like thinking that like so few people would do them that they wouldn't get caught. So it was always like, then you have to fight 200 battles in the dinosaur forest, and then you have to go around the world 40 times, and then
But they underestimated the gamers. Everyone underestimates gamers.
one of them that I tried to do was like in Final Fantasy VI. It was like you can get Cecil from Final Fantasy IV to appear in your game, and I like did the whole thing, and I was so crushed to find that he was not there at the end
So
of this.
disillusioning.
At the end of this, it was disappointing as a child.
Yeah, I think that's always like a crucial element, right? Like, hard to verify. Like, going back to Lavender Town for a second, like, when you hear the story, if you want to verify it, you have to pull out your Game Boy, you have to find your copy, like, you have to go into a basement or something, and like, who's going to go through the trouble of doing? I mean, some people will, but I think that's part of the whole allure, right? Like, this could be plausible, and you can't quite check, but it sounds like it could be right.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Thanks so much for coming on, Patricia. I am never going to install Sad Satan on my computer. And
No, me neither. Not after watching this video.
No.
that's my conclusion after rereading all these classic Patricia Hernandez articles.
Good
is
take.
What not to install on my computer and what to just
No dark web games.
feel kind of creeped out by and then
Yes.
move on with my life. Beat Final Fantasy VII and then tell us what you think about it. Come back.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, let's take a break and then we'll be back with one more thing.
We interrupt the podcast you're listening to tell you about another podcast. That's right, We Got This with Mark and Hal.
That's correct, Mark. This is Hal. We do the hard work for you, settling all of the meaningless arguments you have with your friends.
So tune in every week on the Maximum Fun Network for We Got This with Mark and Hal, and all your questions will be asked and answered.
You're welcome. All right, that's enough of that.
Hi. Are you someone who thinks that when one door closes, another one opens?
Someone who always sees the light at the end of the tunnel.
If you answered yes to one or both of these questions, good for you.
We are not those people.
Nope. I'm Annabelle Gurwitch, and I'm that other door opening? It probably leads to a broom closet kind of person.
And I'm Laura House. When I see a light at the end of a tunnel, I assume it's a train headed right toward me.
Laura and I have created a brand new podcast for people like us. It's called Tiny Victories. We're sharing personal tiny victories or things we've read or seen that inspire resilience.
So if you're looking for a tiny reason to get out of bed each week, subscribe to Tiny Victories.
Available on Maximum Fun or wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's get tiny.
And we are back with one more thing.
Woo!
Jason, why don't you go first?
I will. Okay, so first of all, I have the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. I have the next gen consoles.
You're the most special boy. Is there a more special boy than you?
I am the special boy
the specialist boy.
with the chunky
I
boxes.
would say I'm more special because I don't have the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, but I do have the Xbox Series S.
You have the baby Xbox.
That is, as it's colloquially known, the baby Xbox.
Anyway,
Yes.
I
the
got
reason
one
I
of
bring
those.
this up is not to brag, but to say that for the next 2 weeks we will be doing deep dives on these things. But we want to hear
we
what
can't
listeners.
right now. We can't do it
Right,
yet.
we can't do it yet. But we want to hear what listeners want to know about these things because I'm sure you all have a ton of questions about like next gen hardware, what it's like. There are all sorts of little things people might be wondering. So if you have questions, just email us tripleclick@maximumfun.org, and we will try to answer as many as possible as we start doing our Xbox and PlayStation episodes. I think we're going to do one after the other. But my one more thing is on a lighter note. I watched over the weekend Borat 2, the sequel to Borat. Have you guys watched Borat 2 yet?
I haven't, but I've heard a lot about it. So how was
Wait,
it?
shouldn't you? I feel like as you introduce this movie, you need to say the entire name of the movie.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Borat subsequent movie film.
Okay,
That's
Borat
what it's called.
subsequent movie film.
It's actually Borat subsequent movie film delivery of prodigious bribe to American regime to make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan.
Right.
Oh,
Let's
oh,
the
so
full
actually,
title
yeah.
very
So
important.
the title cards change throughout the movie, so it doesn't just stick with one of those.
Okay.
Great.
okay.
But so Borat is kind of like an interesting artifact. It's an interesting look back at like the Bush era. 2006 is when the first movie came out, and it was very much like one of those like we're gonna shine a light into like we're gonna shine a lens into like the parts of America that are like seedy and dark, and like look, we're gonna get these people to like reveal how they really feel, singing "Throw the Jew Down the Well" or like talking about how African Americans should be enslaved and like really horrible stuff that it was just like this movie was doing the purpose of like bringing to light, like exposing the ugliness. In 2020, the ugliness is all out there. Like people are just the dog whistles have turned into just like blowing trumpets.
Just regular whistles.
Yeah, so it feels like it's a very different kind of movie, and I think this movie actually does a pretty good job of like taking that tone. And so there is some stuff that's just like, okay, do we really need to see like this woman in a bakery like drawing on a cake, like because Borat is like, I want you to write like Jews will not replace us, and it's like this woman just like gleefully draws in, and it's just like, okay, that's just repeating the same jokes as the first one. But there is some stuff in there that like gets pretty interesting. Everyone has made a lot of fuss about the Giuliani stuff, which was interesting. But like, I found it more interesting when he was really just like, at one point in the movie, he spends 5 entire days quarantining with these 2 people who are like conspiracy theorists, and he just like talks to them, and obviously he's doing his character, so his character is very much like sympathetic with them. At some point he's like, what's worse, like coronavirus or Democrats? And they're both like, Democrats. But it was actually really interesting getting like a kind of documentary-ish look into these 2 people and the way they think, and you almost kind of like have a little sympathy for them towards the end of it, because you get to know these people and like the way that their thought processes work and how they're thinking. And to me, the movie worked when it was doing stuff like that. There's also some just like shocking and flat out hilarious stuff throughout the movie in true Borat fashion. But I actually thought it was pretty good, and I enjoyed watching a bunch of the stuff that he did.
This movie, so for listeners who don't know, this movie is just on Amazon. You can just watch it. And I'm totally going to watch this. I'm looking forward to it. I just watched, not to like sneak in a second one more thing, but I just watched The Trial of the Chicago 7, which Sacha Baron Cohen is also in. And he's fantastic in it. And he's been in other things. He's a really good actor. He's a fascinating dude. I really think he has a project that he is doing and has been doing for a long time. And it's very interesting. So I'm really looking forward to watching the movie.
Yeah, I mean... So one of the things that he always does with these movies is like he makes them into actual movies with a plot. And like in the first movie, it was a plot involving Borat and like his friend who's the producer. And then this is Borat and his daughter, who is this phenomenal actress, by the way. She like deserves all the credit in the world. I've heard she kind of
steals the movie. Yeah.
She really steals the movie because she is like, first of all, she comes out of nowhere. Like I had never heard of her. I don't think anyone had. But she, like her ability to do all these things and not break character, like she starts getting into like becoming a right-wing journalist and like talking to people as a right-wing journalist. And like
so she's on his level, basically.
It's incredible. Yeah, I'm always stunned that he and she, like the way they can just be immersed in this role and never break character is
few
incredible.
People are as good.
Yeah. The one thing that made me a little uncomfortable the first one and still makes me a little uncomfortable is the treatment of Kazakhstan and the fact that like he's saying he's from this real country, and this real country is just depicted as like a shithole where like people like lock their daughters in cages and like have like screw pigs or whatever. It doesn't really sit so well with me. I think it would have worked so much better if it was just a fake country, because like why does it need to be like picking on this real country that like doesn't really deserve to be a target?
Did you see that Kazakhstan was extremely unhappy about the first film, and there's all these like really negative government response, but then this movie they've been sort of embracing it.
It's kind of
really.
Yeah. I think my perspective in 2006 when the first one came out would have been like, oh whatever, like he can make fun of everybody, but nowadays I think my sensibilities have changed to the point where it feels like that is punching down, where everything else is very clearly punching up, or at least punching awfulness, like as opposed to just punching some undeserving country. But the plot is very funny. Fun fact is that when Borat, and this was the case in the first movie too, when Borat is speaking in Kazakh, he's actually speaking in fluent Hebrew. So I speak Hebrew, so I understood the entire time he's like talking, and like sometimes you notice some very tiny differences, but otherwise it's pretty good. It's like a pretty good translation to like what is said in the subtitles. So that's very entertaining. His big catchphrases are not, those are like Polish, I think, like Jakshimash or whatever, Dziękuję, or like Polish. And then the woman, his daughter, speaks Romanian, I believe. So just a fun fact. But anyway, yeah, I recommend watching the movie. I enjoyed it. I'm not looking forward to like having to hear people do Borat impressions again for the next couple of years.
I don't know if that's going to happen again. I feel like I think people only do that ironically, and that's all I ever
Comedy
hear.
Bang Bang has really mastered
that's
the my
but
wife.
They're doing
the
it correctly. Scott Ackerman can say my wife as often as he wants.
Yes,
It's fine.
that's true. I've kind of grown to love it. I've kind of grown to love it because
it circled back around at some point.
I watched a clip on YouTube once a couple of years ago of just like a montage of Scott Ackerman saying my wife.
Just him saying it.
Amazing. It was truly amazing.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, Kirk, how about you go next?
All right. Well, my one more thing is a VR game. Ha 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 ha. Talking about virtual reality.
I can't wait. Oh my God. Yeah.
I knew you two would be so excited to hear more about VR. Here we are. VR time. VR time on Triple Click. So yeah, we have been playing some VR in our household, enjoying the Oculus Quest 2. I gather there's a bunch more bullshit with Facebook. They're like, I don't know, whatever. Like your account is tied to your games.
Yeah, man. Don't delete your account. Delete that account. All your games are gone.
It's really a major downside to this thing, but I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about This game is called The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners. It's a new VR game that is out for I think all platforms. Like on Steam, it's on PSVR, so anyone can play it. It's really cool.
This is by Skydance, right?
Yes, made by Skydance, and it kind of combines elements of a survival style zombie game where you're, day 1, day 2, day 3, you're kind of going around houses and there's side quests and stuff, with a kind of branching narrative Telltale style Walking Dead game where there are characters that talk to you and you make decisions. And the title Saints and Sinners is a reference to the fact that you can either be the great villain or the great hero. It's set in New Orleans in the Walking Dead world, so everything has gone to hell and there's zombies everywhere. And I haven't played that much of it. I play in just little bits. And it like most VR games, it's a lot. It's like a very rich meal. Anytime you're playing it, there's just so much going on that I'm like, okay, I'm just going to play a little bit and then stop. Plus, you can't just auto save in this game because it's a survival game. So like you'll go out into town to do something and then you need to kind of see it through in order to save. So that tends to be how I kind of stop and start. So I haven't played a whole ton. Anyway, this game is really cool. It's, you start out, it's very much like State of Decay style. It reminds me of State of Decay, which for people who didn't play, also a zombie game, not in VR. Really great. I really like the first one, where you kind of have a safe house and then you just go do stuff out in the world and gradually kind of build up your stamina and you get stronger. And there's kind of a lot of RPG-light systems, a lot of crafting and sort of rummaging through stuff. And that's my main observation about this game, I guess, from what I've played, is that it's just everything you would do in State of Decay you do in this game, but it's just so much more interesting in this game because you're actually doing it in real life. Because
is it scarier too, and more stressful because you're really doing it?
Yes.
To a point.
I mean, right, but you are you're physically doing the thing, and when you're getting swarmed by zombies, first off, there's that
feel like you are being swarmed by zombies.
For sure. There's the VR kind of that uncomfortableness where when a zombie gets on you, it feels like there's something in your face, which is intense, scary. And then
Halloween.
Then just the feeling of the sound design is really good. So you'll be in a room in a house, kind of rummaging through stuff, and you'll hear out in the hallway something kind of moving around. Right, and you're in there, and you have to look. It's not as scary as something like Resident Evil 7, which was legitimately horrifying in VR, and I couldn't. Or even play
Alien Isolation or whatever. I don't know if there's a VR version of that, but there's certainly
right, because it's more. I would say it's more survival than survival horror, because you can if you're smart, you can pretty much deal with zombies. But the fact that you spend so much time, just like in The Walking Dead, just like in The Last of Us, where you're constantly rummaging through drawers and picking up tape and shit and parts. You're doing that in this game too, but there's just something about when you go into a room and you're like, well, I'm going to walk over to this bureau and we're going to...
You have to actually open the drawer.
Open the drawers and look. It's sort of fun. You're just this is cool, because it's like going through... It's like Gone Home. It's like going to someone's house and rummaging through their shit.
Well, so here's the question. How long are your sessions when you play a game like this?
I'd say 45 minutes-ish.
So this is very much a game that, I can't imagine you playing this for 4 hours straight, the way you could for a normal game that you were really
I don't
into.
know. I know some people play VR games that way, but most of them just aren't really designed to be played that way. Half-Life Alyx has a lot of great stopping points, and I find that works well for me. I just am they get uncomfortable. As good as the Quest 2 is, it still gets uncomfortable after a little while.
Yeah.
And it's just intense. So the other thing is the combat in this game is a lot of melee because it's a zombie game. And so I'll have this knife, and then when a zombie is coming toward you, you kind of have to you're bobbing and weaving and kind of waiting, and then you stab it in the head. Just a very Walking Dead thing to do, and you really have to kind of mean it to get the thing to puncture.
Does it spray blood and brains at you when you stab it in the face?
No, because they're kind of dried up.
You need an attachment.
No, it doesn't do that. It doesn't well, I haven't had that happen. Maybe that happens with other types of things. With the basic zombies, they're pretty dried up, but there's just this violence to how you're and it you really have to kind of drive the thing through its skull, and then it gets stuck on your knife, the zombies, because you jammed us. It really feels like you did. So it kind of ragdolls, and you have the zombie hanging off your knife, the skull, and you have to pull it out. And there are times where you kill one zombie and another one is coming, and you're trying to struggling to get your knife out of the skull of the zombie you just had. So again, it's another example of VR games having me do things that I've done a million times in video games, but I've never done them like this, and they haven't felt like this, where like I have never in a video game stood there trying to shake my knife free of a zombie's skull in time to stab it into another one's. And that's something that this game does that I've never done before. So I like it. I think it's a really effectively made game so far, and I dig it. And yeah, it's on all VR systems. It's called The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, and yeah, I'm a fan, at least so far.
Cool.
All right. Well, my one more thing is that
Destiny 2.
I got a new video card.
Oh.
I did play Destiny 2 on it. I will say that much. But I'm mostly going to talk about the video card.
Nice.
So I got sent an RTX 3070.
Ooh,
which is
that's exciting. You're reviewing it?
Exciting for me. I wrote a review of it that went up today.
Oh, nice.
We'll
At
link that in the show notes.
Polygon.com. People can
That's
read
cool.
it if they want to, or they can just hear me talk about it for the next few minutes.
That too.
Either
Yeah.
way, really.
Take us away.
So NVIDIA put out a line of 30 series cards, and this is the smallest, the lowest, the cheapest of that little batch. It's only $500. It was $3 for me. And my boss, Chris Plant, reviewed the 80, and it sounds very, very nice. And he has a 4K ultra-wide monitor that he played it on, so he could test the 4K. He could test the refresh rate.
Right, he actually needs a GPU that powerful.
He needs a GPU that powerful to see those 4K games at 60 frames per second or more. And he wrote about the benchmarks and was able to play in 4K at even higher than 60 FPS at various points on the 3080, which was pretty cool to read about. And I read it and I thought, that sounds pretty sweet, but I don't have
Here I am.
a
Like,
4K
wait a minute. I should have reviewed that
ultra-wide.
one.
Yeah, I should have reviewed that one, but I couldn't have because I don't have a 4K monitor to test it out on. I just have a 1440p monitor
Yes,
with a
me too.
144 refresh rate. So
It's all anyone needs. It's all anyone needs.
you know,
So how's the 3070 for a 1440p?
it's very, very good on a 1440p. I would say
Excellent.
this
Nice.
is a great GPU for somebody who is gaming at the level that I am. And people know my exact computer specs otherwise because we did an episode of this show where we talked
Yeah,
about our
just a
exact
couple
specs.
weeks
So
ago. Yep.
you can hear what I had.
So how does it compare? Because you had a GT 1080, the same one that I have. How does that?
I had a 1080. That's right. And I had a 1080 regular, not a 1080 Ti.
Right.
I just
Right.
had the straight regular one.
Right.
Yeah, I have the same one. So how does this compare? It's much faster.
I noticed a really, really big jump in quality that I thought was very, very fun. And like Control, I played Control, which is like the go-to game to play because it
Lot of
has
ray
so many
tracing.
particle effects, so much ray tracing. They have really tricked that game out. And so what I'm also doing is that it has this NVIDIA cards allow you to downsample 4K into 1440p, and that actually looks better than just the regular 1440p resolution. It does slow down your frame rate a little bit if you do this, but not enough to matter with the 3070 GPU.
Nice.
So I was going ahead and playing Control with the 4K downsampled with every effect maxed out,
Oh, man.
and it looked freaking amazing. It was always above 60 FPS.
Nice.
No problems. I feel like I had a better performance than some of the other benchmarks I read today. So I just feel like maybe my computer hit some type of sweet spot with Control when I was
Nice.
playing. And I was like, it went really well.
Maybe you have a better CPU than other
Maybe.
folks.
I don't know. My CPU is kind of old. So some of it is just luck of the draw, I think.
I think it's if you have the hiss infesting your
Yes,
PC,
of
it runs
course.
faster. That's what makes Control run better.
I was going to say, it must be that you put more thermal paste. And
Yes.
It's your
It was
thermal
my
paste.
thermal paste application. I don't know.
It
Like,
was expertly applied.
Yes.
having done a hardware review now and reading everybody else's reviews nervously this morning and being like, was everybody else's
It's
benchmarks
stressful,
the same
right?
as
Yeah, it's
mine?
stressful.
Like, how did I do? Did I do everything well? And like seeing that some people could get a higher frame rate than I could on certain games, but like lower ones on games that I played that I got a better one on. I'm like, this is kind of magical and weird.
Yeah,
like,
PC
why is it the
gaming,
way that it
man.
is?
PC
It's
gaming.
PC
So,
gaming.
Can I, we have a little time. I want to go on a brief
Sure.
tangent real quick. So you mentioned, so I also have a 1440p monitor, and I'm actually
Yes.
thinking about getting a 4K monitor because I've recently discovered the magic of playing console games on your computer monitor.
Welcome.
I'm thinking the same thing, my friend.
So yeah, Kirk, you always did this. Okay, so I have traditionally just been like plugging into the TV, sit on the couch, like play from far away. And I always had, and I've complained on the show many times in the past, and on our old show many times in the past, I always had a problem with like text being too small and like the distance
Yep.
of the, and like for some reason when you're sitting that far away from a TV, like you don't feel as into the game. But recently I've been testing out all the next gen consoles on my PC monitor, and I'll also do the TV to see the 4K stuff, but like my monitor 1440p right in front of me, and it's actually been so much better.
Do you have a 4K TV?
Yeah, I have a 4K TV, yeah. But it's been so much better playing them on the monitor, like playing consoles on the monitor. Like I might just switch permanently to like playing on a monitor because just being right in front of it, I mean, I don't know if it's like bad for your eyes or something. Maybe. Kirk, you can chime in on this one.
I don't think it is. Have you done any research on the fact that 4K you can't even perceive it unless you're a certain distance away? Like you need to be closer in order to really perceive.
I mean, just in general, just being that close to a monitor when you're playing stuff.
Oh, well, that's not what I'm saying. I have no idea if it's bad for you or not. I'm saying you can only perceive how good it is if you're closer to the monitor.
Yeah, there's definitely a sweet spot. But I'm finding that like suddenly console gaming feels totally different for me. Actually, it's very noticeable when I play something, and I can't really get into the PS5 and Xbox Series X stuff because I'm embargoed until next week or so. But just to
a hypothetical console.
Hypothetically,
who can say what console this was?
If I were playing a game and it were very clearly at 60 frames a second versus very clearly at 30 frames a second, it's even more noticeable when you're playing on like a 144 hertz computer monitor.
Course.
But
because it's a much higher refresh rate. Yeah.
So that's both good and bad. So like if it's a way lower frame rate, you notice it in a bad way and it feels very sluggish. If it's 60 frames a second, then you notice it and it's like, oh my god, this is incredible.
I would draw the distinction, which this is something you and I have been texting about frame pacing and the difference between frame pacing and frame rate. Where there are games like Spider-Man and God of War runs above 30, but Horizon's a good example on PS4 where they run with really good frame pacing and they're just very even, which is like the frames are paced out evenly. Right. And those games I think actually look great on a monitor, where when I'm playing something with weird frame pacing, like Bloodborne's a good example, that's where when I'm on a monitor...
Bloodborne is the one. Bloodborne is very...
game really sticks out because it has some issues.
Well, that game sticks out because it so relies on twitchiness and like high, like really precise mechanics.
Like when you played Sekiro at 130 frames per second on PC, like you're really like,
it really changes
Bloodborne.
Things. Yeah, man, we really need a Bloodborne PC version or PS5 version or whatever.
Dare to dream.
Yeah, but like and Kirk, I'm curious to hear your take on this because you've been doing this for a while. Like it feels magical to me, like moving to. And granted, my computer chair is not quite as comfortable as the couch, but I'm just kind of man,
you gotta get a gamer
I
chair.
don't know. This is kind of I do, but this is I'm kind of loving playing console games like at my desk. I might do this permanently. Kirk, you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, that's been my main way of playing video games. I think I really
forever?
like it. No, for I don't know, 4 or 5 years or so. It's been a long time. There was a while where I would play. I guess I would plug my TV into a PC I would actually have a PC sitting next to my TV and then would just like sit in front of the TV and play games. But then once I got the monitor I have now that goes above 60 frames per second, I started playing that way. And I prefer it. It's just kind of neater, like gaming stuff doesn't get everywhere. Like I can keep it kind of contained. Plus I, for a long time, had a workstation where like my game capture was running on my work Mac computer that was over right here, right next to my gaming station. So I could just be playing and capturing. And that's just also all so much easier to do. It's similar to like a streamer setup, which I guess I technically have too. So that all just works better at a desk, and it's just nice to be able to have really quick access to a computer, and you can like look things up, or if you're playing something and you want to be reading like a tech tip or a walkthrough, you can do that really easily too. So I find that all much easier. The only exception is I do like playing Switch games. Like Emily and I all play Mario Odyssey together. We were just doing that last night, like we're all on the TV in the living room, but that's kind of a different experience.
Right. Yeah, that is different. Co-op games are different.
Yeah, and also like I gotta play on my couch so that my cat can like sit directly on my chest while I'm playing a video game. It doesn't work otherwise.
Oh man, last night when we were playing Odyssey, Appa was losing her mind at the game. She never like gets upset at the TV, but it was the level, like the beach level with the penguins everywhere. Bing! Kirk from the future here. I just want to issue a slight correction. I was playing Super Mario Galaxy, not Super Mario Odyssey. I don't know how Appa feels about Super Mario Odyssey. Maybe she likes it. Who knows? Anyways, back to the show. Bing! And I was like on my phone doing something, and Mario was just standing there. And then suddenly Appa just starts growling, and then she starts barking. And then she's like barking like
at the
really,
penguins probably.
And like I moved him on the screen. She was like, "Whoa!" and like running away from the screen. And
it's like suddenly
really
she could perceive the screen as a distinct object, and she was like, "Hold on."
I think it might have been that it was running at 60 frames per second. Actually, like I think that since most of the TV we watch isn't at a high frame rate, that she saw the movement differently and was like, "Fuck this." So we kind of came over and like pet her and we're like, it's okay. It's just Mario.
It's just Mario.
But yeah, it
That's
was funny.
amazing.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's
Amazing.
dangerous. It's dangerous to increase your frame rate if you have a pet.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I now have a GPU envy. I still haven't got a 3080. Maybe I'll get a 3070. If that's all you need for 1440p.
I wouldn't have upgraded except I got sent one for free, and now that I have it, I'm like, maybe I should have upgraded to it.
Maybe
Like,
I
it's
should
not that
upgrade.
expensive,
You might have
and
just
it
convinced me.
looks pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Not that
So-
I'll be able to buy one for 6 months.
I mean, I don't think you need it. Well, it's not like
You
there are going to
don't,
be games
but-
that, like, maybe for next
Well,
fall.
but there
you'll need
are.
it.
The Witcher 3 is getting a next gen upgrade, and I know you like The Witcher 3, Kirk. Maybe you want to play it again.
I think that, AC Valhalla, Cyberpunk, those are gonna, if you want them to really look good, they're gonna push it.
Yeah, if you want them to look really, really spiffy with all the ray tracing or whatever turned
Yeah.
up all the way.
I love ray
then-
tracing.
Well, soon we'll
That's
be
what
able
you
to
need.
talk about how all that stuff runs on next gen consoles. So very
Yeah.
excited to really break that down. And so yeah, just before we go, just another quick reminder that like if you're curious about things, just let us know. You can tweet at us, you can email us. We're not going to be able to answer every single question we get, but we'll try to answer like as much stuff as possible because I want to know what people are curious about, like leading up to. It's a big decision, like if you want to buy a console. So we'll try to help you all out. All that said, I think that's it for this week's episode. So big thanks to Patricia for coming on.
Yeah.
And a big thanks to
Yeah.
you guys for being such wonderful co-hosts.
Hey, thanks to you too, man.
And a big thanks to me. Awesome.
And big thanks to Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Pre-order Jason's book. Pre-order Jason's book.
Pre-order it.
At any bookstore of your choice.
We'll put a link in the show notes. All right,
Bye.
I'll see you both next week. Triple Click is produced by Jason Schreier, Maddy Myers, and me, Kirk Hamilton. I edit and mix the show and also wrote our theme music. Our show art is by Tom DJ. Triple Click is a proud member of the Maximum Fun Podcast Network, and if you like our show, we hope you'll head over to MaximumFun.org/join and consider becoming a member. Doing so helps support us and gets you access to an exclusive Triple Click episode each month. Find us online at tripleclickpodcast.com, on Twitter at tripleclickpod, and send email to tripleclick@maximumfun.org. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned. Audience supported.